Mexico's Baja Peninsula has a climate and a cuisine that's different from the rest of the country. Now, it's what they call a Mediterranean climate, wet in the winter and dry in the summer, unlike the more tropical climate that you'll find in the rest of Mexico. And at a restaurant like Tres Virgenes in La Paz, that climate and the great local seafood inspires the menu of the chef there, Jesus Chavez. These look a little different than what I'm used to working with. These must be from local waters.
Yes, these are caught about 20 kilometers from here on one of our beaches.
Cool.
And we have a guy that just catches the octopus for the restaurant and goes out every morning and comes back and brings the octopus to us.
Okay, so then you're just dipping the octopus in oil after it's been simmered until it's just the right stage, and then cooking it over the mesquite.
Yeah, it's a very simple marinade. It's ponzu sauce.
Ponzu sauce.
Ponzu sauce.
Now, I keep seeing all this sort of Asian influence in a lot of the chefs in Baja.
You know, I come from up north, Northern Baja, so we have a lot of a very big Chinese community up there. So it's natural for us to be familiar with all those ingredients from Asia.
So you've got a marinade that starts with ponzu sauce.
Ponzu sauce, olive oil, Baja olive oil.
Yeah.
Has ancho powder,
Uh-huh.
and it has a little bit of Worcestershire sauce. Just a little.
Now that's, to me, a kind of quintessential Baja dish with the influences of the Mediterranean, influences of Asia, and then very clearly set in Mexico with that ancho powder.
Yes, definitely. The ancho powder gives it that smoky, very Mexican-like flavor.
All you have to do is take one taste of the food here and you think Mediterranean. You get it so clearly when you smell the sea air. When you look at the landscape that's filled with those beautiful olive trees and vineyards that produce great oil and wine. When you taste the artisanal cheeses and wander through those inspiring gardens. One of my favorite gardens anywhere in the world is at Rancho La Puerta in Tecate. And not just because it's so beautiful, but because of the gardener, Salvador, who is one of the most passionate guys I know. The cool thing is, he said that I could choose anything I wanted from the garden and then go into their teaching kitchen and cook it. And you're growing all the different colors of chard, right?
Yeah.
Let's get some of them, all of it here.
Okay,
You gotta
wait.
help me. What are those flowers up there?
That is daikon blossom. You want the tasting now?
I want daikon blossom.
Okay,
Let's go
perfect.
for that. This is something completely new to me.
Oh yes? Try the one.
Now the little pods.
The little pot is perfect because it's very tender. The flavor in the blossom.
Oh my
and
God. It's like pea pods.
Yeah.
They're really good. I love the little spiciness that they add at the end of the flavor. Is this the garlic?
Yeah, it's the green garlic.
Along with that green garlic, we went on to pick a remarkable variety of greens. Some red and green auric, some New Zealand spinach, and some Tuscan kale. Okay, now I've got to get cooking.
Okay, great. Lovely. You have more than you want.
Now my idea here is to turn this green garlic into a green garlic mojo de ajo. You probably know that bath of garlic that's typically made with slow-cooked regular garlic. Well, I'm going to use the green garlic out of the garden. Now, you treat these sort of like leeks. You split them from end to end after washing them really well, and then you slice them across into thin slices. Now, this is the time that you know these aren't leeks. This is garlic. All that garlic aroma just comes up to greet you. Put them into a saucepan and cover them with olive oil. Put in some salt there, and I'm going to put it onto a low fire here and let it cook slowly, slowly, slowly until that green garlic is completely tender. Now, in the meantime, I'm going to make a roasted tomato and chile de árbol salsa. So I'm going to take the chile de árbol that Salvador grew and put it into a skillet over here, heat it over a medium temperature. You'll know they're ready when the aroma of the chilies just comes up to greet you, just like that garlic did. I'm going to put the toasted árbol chilies into the blender jar here, and then add roasted tomatoes and roasted garlic. Now, roasted tomatoes, you can do them under a broiler. It's super easy to do that, but in Mexico it's typical to put them on a comal or on a griddle. I just did these in a skillet. I lined it with a piece of foil and turned them until they're completely blackened, blistered, and soft all the way through. I'm not even going to peel them for this particular robust rustic salsa. Put them in there. Beside it here, I've got some garlic cloves that I've dry roasted in a skillet. Takes about 15 minutes over medium heat. Then peel off the papery skin. And then this gets blended until it's completely smooth. I'm going to check it for consistency and give it a seasoning of salt. I can tell it's going to be spicy and good because it hit me right in the back of the throat. Looks like it needs just a touch of water. So I'll put that in. Blend it for a few more seconds. Pour some out into a serving dish here. That looks just the right consistency for this. Deep, robust, rustic, exactly what I was looking for. Now it's on to slicing up all those greens from the garden. After the mojo de ajo had simmered for 15 minutes or so, I seasoned it with some lime juice, some fresh epazote, and some lemon thyme. Then that went back onto the heat for another 10 minutes for all those flavors to come together. This riot of textures and flavors that I have on the cutting board here all get mixed together in the skillet. Take that back to the stove. A little of the oil from the green garlic mojo infused with epazote and lemon thyme. Give it a little bit of water. That'll just help the cooking to go evenly. Turn on the fire to about a medium high. Just stir it all together and let it cook until those greens are as tender as you like. I think with this mix, it'll probably take 8 to 10 minutes. To make that perfect mixture into a perfect taco, you've got to have the perfect tortilla. And Marisela here is making fresh corn tortillas from fresh ground masa. Hot, fresh-made tortilla, a little bit of our greens mixture, got some fresh-made queso fresco Mexican fresh cheese to sprinkle on the top of it, a little of our spicy árbol salsa. And remember those daikon blossoms? Sprinkle those spicy little things over the top. That's cooking local, organic, fresh, and delicious. I wanted to delve deeper into that Mediterranean side of Baja, so I trekked out to Rancho Olivares de Calafia in the Valle de Guadalupe. Now, as its name implies, it's a huge olive grove, but it surrounds this beautiful lamb farm, all of it under the direction of Manuel Acero. My chef friend Miguel Angel Guerrero had turned me on to this place because he loves their lamb and olive oil. The amazing valley here, the Valle de Guadalupe, that stretches from way up there to clear down there, and you've got 100,000 olive trees.
Exactly.
Right below us. That is so stunning. I've never seen anything like that in my life. And then right in the middle of it, you have a lamb farm.
Exactly.
How did that all
Well,
happen?
we are in one of the 5 Mediterranean areas of the world. In fact, this is...
Explain that.
this
What
is-
makes a Mediterranean?
The Mediterranean climate and the Mediterranean areas have to do with the ocean, have to do with the breeze, have to do with the mountains, the hills. It creates some microclimates and vegetation that it permits also to have olive groves, to grow grapes for wine.
Because this valley is very well known for great wine as well as great olive oil.
Well, the Baja Med concept comes from that. So yes, it just eases through. And if you come visit Valle de Guadalupe, you kind of start understanding where the concept comes from.
You certainly do. Just standing up here on this bluff, looking at this valley and thinking about grapes and thinking about olives and thinking about lamb. I could be in someplace else, but
Exactly.
we're not. We're in Mexico here. You guys have a word for it in Spanish here.
We call it terruño. Some call it querencia. And as I was putting an example the other day, if a horse gets lost here and it goes a couple ranches down, it always comes back to its terruño. It always comes back home because this is where it was born.
This is where you were born, right?
Yeah, that's where you feel who you are.
Where you feel who you are, and you must love that word querencia because you named a restaurant.
That's
that.
it, that's-
This is your place,
Name
like you
querencia.
say, that querencia, that place that you go back to.
You always leave, but you always come back where you feel safe.
Talk to me more about the lambs.
If you just go to the restaurants where we deliver this lamb, it's just, you can just tell the difference. And it's not so much genetics, it's not so much other things, it's just the Mediterranean way of life.
At Chef Miguel Angel's restaurant in Tijuana, it's called La Querencia, he's made quite a name for himself, mostly for having incredible local ingredients, a lot of talent, and an enviable grill. That is a beautiful leg of lamb. It's from
Yes.
the lamb farm.
Lamb farm.
What did you marinate it in?
Lemon thyme.
Yes.
We have rock salt,
Yeah.
shallots, garlic, and some olive oil from the ranch.
Oh, from the ranch where we were,
Olivares.
we got, yes, where we
Yeah.
had the lamb. It's a small leg of lamb.
4 pounds.
So you're gonna spit roast it?
We're going to roast it in a mesquite-grilled here.
Show me, show me.
Please. Put it here. We are the motor.
Okay. So we've got the leg of lamb that's cooking on the spit, and I noticed that you have 2 more lamb cuts.
more.
You got a double cut lamb
Lamb
chop,
chop.
and then this is lamb loin.
Lamb loin.
Okay. Explain this whole idea to us because we have 3 cuts of lamb.
I'm going to try to explain in one dish
Yes.
my cuisine, Baja Med.
Perfect. Perfect. So what do we need to do next?
Have to take everything to go and take it to grill.
Onto the grill, to the boss grill, aren't we?
Ferrari.
Beautiful lamb, and I know because I tasted it already. You
right.
gave me a little taste of it there. Miguel Angel's finished dish was Baja on a plate. Lamb leg with fruity mole, a blue cheese dressed salad, grilled lamb chops with soy dressed shiitakes, lamb loin in salsa matcha with couscous and pine nut oil. This is spectacular.
It's all Baja or my cuisine, how I see it.
I can't wait to dig into it. Grilled lamb with salsa matcha and roasted fennel. Sounds pretty good, but Doesn't sound very Mexican, really, yet that's a combination that has become a kind of classic in the northern part of the Baja Peninsula.
Well, and the salsa matcha doesn't really seem very Mexican either, but it's this delicious infusion of olive oil and dried chilies with a little nuts and garlic.
The truth is, you can find that salsa matcha everywhere from the taquerias to the fancy restaurants. And when you start to make that salsa, the first thing you have to do is choose dried chilies. You can use practically any kind of dried chilies to make this. I like a combination of sweet ancho chilies. We've got the dark, long pasilla negro chilies and the smoky hot chipotles. And of course you got to clean them first. So you pull out the stem, open them up and let the seeds fall out. And then you got to cut up the chilies into smaller pieces. So I like to tear them into flat pieces like that. I'm going to give you a pair of scissors and take this one. And then you want to cut them into pieces that are about 1/2 inch and then cut those into smaller pieces like that. Now while Lainey continues on with the cleaning and the chopping of the chilies, I'm going to start the olive oil base. I'm going to put this pot over about medium heat here and pour in 2 cups of really good olive oil. And to that olive oil, we're going to add some nuts and seeds. And this, just as with the dried chilies, you can use practically anything that you have on hand. I'm going to put some peanuts in there, some almonds, and some sesame seeds. And 4 cloves of garlic, which I'm going to peel and then halve. Now that's going to go into the pot here. We're going to stir it around a little bit. It'll start to come up to a little simmer. And after about 5 minutes, you'll notice that that garlic and that sesame in there will start to brown. That's when we're going to add the chilies to it. Now, final ingredients, seasonings, will be, of course, some salt and vinegar mixed together, and a little bit of dried herbs. I've got some Mexican oregano and some thyme. So you want to prepare that part of it. I'm going to add a little of this Mexican oregano that I'm going to crush between my palms. Releases all that beautiful aroma. A little tiny bit of dried thyme. A little of this goes a long way. Also crushing that between my fingers to release that aroma. And Lainey's got a tablespoon of vinegar
And
with
a teaspoon of salt.
teaspoon of salt. That goes in here. And that vinegar and salt will just infuse itself right into the beautiful aromatic dried chilies.
Sure smells good.
Now this incredibly aromatic mixture is going to go into the blender jar and get pulsed to chop all the larger pieces, especially the nuts, into smaller ones. Now to roast fresh fennel, you first have to chop up the fennel. You cut off the stalk part of it. You can save that to make a soup with. I always trim off some of the root end of it. What is that? Aromatic. Smell that. Sort of
Whoa.
anisey
Yeah,
kind of
very
smell.
licorice.
And then cut each half into 4 or 5 pieces.
I'm gonna lay all this fennel here in this pan. And now we're gonna drizzle all this fennel in here with some of our salsa matcha, trying to get mostly the oily part.
And because this fennel is going to spend quite a bit of time in the oven, I'm going to drizzle in about 1/4 cup of water and then cover it with foil. And then into the oven it goes.
It's gonna cook at 325 for just over an hour until tender.
One of my very favorite things to do in the whole wide world is to grill. But living here in Chicago, that means a whole chunk of the year I don't get to do what I really like to do. So I decided to really investigate how to grill in my fireplace. But it's a little different. First, you're working on wood, you're not working on charcoal. So you gotta have a grill that can accommodate that. And I don't know any better and simpler way to do it than to put one of these Tuscan grills in here. So I've got my beautiful salsa matcha here. I've got lovely, lovely lamb chops. And I think that pretty much the easiest way to get the flavor of those two things to go together is to drizzle the matcha over the lamb chops, smear it all around so you get some of the beautiful, robust spiciness and clearly all that great olive oil flavor all over the lamb chops. Give them a sprinkling of salt and then flip them over and season the other side exactly the same way. Now they're going to go onto the grill grate and we're going to grill them until the doneness I like, which is about medium rare. That should take 3 or 4 minutes per side, depending on the heat of my fire. And now we're ready to serve. Jair Tellez, another one of Baja's well-known chefs, has been a trailblazer in modern Baja cuisine for more than a decade at his restaurant Laja in the Valle de Guadalupe. Jair takes full advantage of what Baja has to offer, especially produce from his own garden and stuff from the sea, even the formidable geoduck clam. Geoduck clams. I've eaten them, but I've never worked with them before, so what do you do when you get a clam that looks like that?
It has this very peculiar skin.
Yes?
And we poach it in boiling water.
Oh, you poach it in boiling
Yeah.
water? You put
Like
the whole
30
clam in?
seconds. Just to chuck it.
Yeah.
And then you will peel away
The
this thing very
shell.
easily.
Okay. After poaching, you have to pry the shell off and peel the skin from the exposed part, and then slice it thin. Then he arranged the slices in a deep plate, topped them with a little lemon juice, not lime here, and some of the liquid from the geoduck. And then he put on some fresh fennel fronds, aromatic cilantro, a few beautiful borage flowers, and finally a little grated lemon zest and thinly sliced red scallion. A little drizzle of olive oil because I've figured out that in this valley almost every dish has to have a little drizzle of the local olive oil on it.
Somehow, we always do that.
Andres, Jair's partner in the restaurant, is also a winemaker, and he brought in a beautiful, minerally crisp rosé to pair with that ceviche. So when I think about ceviche, I always think about fresh fish, obviously, and about lime juice. But in this one, I'm also getting the flavor of that olive oil
Oh, yes,
in there, which gives it a
it's
completely,
fruity.
it's fruity olive
And
oil,
some richness.
some richness to it, which a lot of people don't associate with
Oh,
any
yes.
kind of ceviche.
Cheers. Cheers to you, my friend.
Thanks for some good food and good wine.